Good evening, everyone. I would like to call to order the Cumberland School Committee on Thursday, September 26th, 2024 at 7 o'clock p.m. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Next item on the agenda is approval of agenda. I need a motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Ms. Smith.
Second.
Second by Mr. Rogalski. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? That passes 5-0. For the record, Mr. Fiorello and Mr. Collins are absent tonight. Next on the agenda is student government report. Come on up, Sams.
I love this.
Good evening, school committee members. I'm Sam Henderson, student body president, here with sophomore class of 2027 president Samuel Bean.
Hi, everyone. Sorry. We began the school year with a typical freshman orientation the day before the upperclassmen returned. At this point, everyone is finding their classes easily, which certainly was not the case for the freshmen during their first week, which was expected because first time at the school.
Yeah, after a few weeks of settling in, our freshman board, President Adi Taslim, Vice President Cecilia Ludwig, Secretary Ephraim Aiden, and Treasurer Charles O'Connell were elected by the class of 2028.
And then next up, we have our Spirit Week. That is next week. So our primary focus these past 2 weeks have been planning Spirit Week, which begins with Jersey Day on Monday, Country versus Country Club on Tuesday, Adam Sandler Day on Wednesday, Class Colors on Thursday, and Clipper Pride on Friday. And then the after-school events are, I lost my place, sorry, hallway decorating, and then we have game night on Tuesday, powder puff on Wednesday, class clash on Thursday, and we have our homecoming game on Friday, and then lastly, closing out Spirit Week, we have our homecoming dance. Anything to add?
Yeah, thank you for your time and enjoy your evening.
Next item on the agenda is consent agenda. Item A, approval of minutes from the regular meeting 9/12/2024. Item B, approval of minutes from the executive session 9/12/2024. And item C, the school bus inspection reports 9/7/2024 and 9/10/2024. Pleasure of the committee. Motion to approve by Mrs. Rogalski.
Second.
Second by Mrs. Feather. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? That passes 5-0. And next on the agenda is personnel announcements. Mrs. Drezick.
Good evening. I have 5 personnel announcements tonight. 4 appointments, 2 effective on 9/30/2024. We have Rebecca Hirschman, special education teacher at the preschool, and Maria Vaz, custodian nights at the transitional building. Effective 9/23/24, Michelle Blanding, paraprofessional, 1-to-1 at Ashton. And effective 9/16/2024, Melissa Johnson, JV tennis coach. We have 1 resignation effective 10/4/24, Rebecca Cardoza, school psychologist at Garvin.
Any questions for Mrs. Drezick? All right, thank you. Next up is report out of executive session meeting on 9/26/2024. Item 1, report out of executive session votes. We did not take any votes this evening. And item 2, vote to seal the minutes of the executive session. Motion to seal by Mr. Rogalski. Second by Mrs. Vogel. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? That passes 5-0. And the superintendent's report, the moment we've all been waiting for.
Good evening, Madam Chair. First slide, Mike. So for some time, we had some great news in town, and finally we can celebrate and talk about it publicly. We have the pleasure of announcing now publicly Garvin is a blue ribbon school, and it's a huge deal. If I could, as I keep talking, could I have Ms. Principal Carter and Mr. D'Amano please come up as we're talking about this great achievement. Mike, next slide, please. So there are 115 some odd thousand schools in the U.S. These are from Tony. Tony gave me some numbers here. Of those, that's how many schools have blue ribbons this year in the country, 365. So when you do the math, 0.0003% are blue ribbon schools. It's exceedingly rare to be blue ribbon and just a huge accomplishment. And for those that don't know, you don't get this by applying like an application. You have to be selected based on the data. Either you're high achieving or you're closing gaps. It's exceedingly difficult, and Garvin did a fantastic job. Before I ask Michelle a question, have her come up here, I just want to highlight we'll be celebrating this on Monday at Garvin at 10 a.m. We have the state delegation coming, those folks who can make it, the mayor's office, Commissioner Infante Green. We're all there. It's just a great opportunity to celebrate Garvin School. So if I could have Principal Carter come up first. I think folks might want to know, what exactly, did Garvin do to get this award? Any details you can give us, Principal Carter?
Thank you for having me tonight. I had a hard time keeping this a secret, and I know that I have been here many times throughout the past year, and it's something that I want to shout from the rooftops. And the teachers deserve the credit for all of this, the hard work that they put in every day. And this is my 7th year here at Garvin as the principal, and I see the work that they put in. And we recognized that there were areas where we needed to improve, and our team came together and we collaborate constantly to determine how we can best meet the needs of all of our students. And our special educators and our interventionists and our MLL teachers are working with classroom teachers every day to find the right support for each student. And it's paid off, but obviously we continue the work. There's so much more to do, and we know that this is not something that we can just celebrate and say we've got it. It's constantly a motivator to keep going and know that we still can help kids reach their goals and make progress every single day. So we're excited to celebrate, and we've been celebrating all week. So the students have had a Spirit Week this week. It started off with Mystery Monday because I couldn't tell them why we were having a Spirit Week. And the kids were definitely curious on Monday. I was in a 2nd grade classroom, and they all had a few guesses of what it could be. They thought it could be, this was an interesting one, they were all getting their own private restrooms in every classroom. I don't know why that was an exciting thought for them, but that was number 1 on their list. They thought maybe it was extra recess. Someone guessed a new playground, and I was happy to say, oh, that'll be coming in the spring, but that's not my announcement. So they had plenty of guesses, but when I made that announcement, I could hear the cheers from the classrooms, from the office. So I knew that even if they didn't quite understand what was going on, this was a celebration for them, their hard work and their teachers' hard work. So throughout the week we've been celebrating. We're ending the week with a fancy Friday and a dance party, and then Monday we'll all come together as a whole school to celebrate. So thank you for the support. The system is working. I think that knowing the vision of the Cumberland School Department and understanding how we can make that work in our school, it's really paid off. So we're appreciative of this recognition, and it's an honor to represent all of the educators in the building here tonight. So thank you.
I should also mention Principal Carter is going with a delegation to Washington, D.C. early November, where it's a national celebration, and she will be on stage in Washington in November. Now, before we go, Mr. Naman, I have a question for you, if I could. So you may know in 2017, Community School won the Blue Ribbon. In 2021, Ashton won the Blue Ribbon, and now we have Garvin winning the Blue Ribbon. So I told you earlier, it's 0.0003. So Tony, how can it be Cumberland has 3 of these in 7 years? Can you talk about that a little bit?
Good evening, everyone. So I think Dr. Thornton genuinely enjoys asking me difficult questions and putting me on the spot. But so, obviously this is a crowning moment. And Dr. Thornton and I, along with Bonnie, we had the pleasure of going to Garvin to talk to the teachers, and really, the way that I described it, it's like winning the Super Bowl. No one can ever take that away from you, being nationally recognized. It's why we do what we do. And while the redistricting was happening, the common theme that we were talking about was, regardless of what school you go to, our aim is for the system to be the same, for our students to receive an equal education, regardless of where they go. And we aim to do that. That's the system I believe that Michelle was referring to. And we aim to do that, but it needs to be executed, right? The teachers do a great job, and we're proud of them, proud of the students, and we're really, really happy for Michelle. Cumberland, 60% of our elementary schools are blue ribbon schools, so can't be prouder. Thank you. Hopefully I answered your question, Dr. Thornton.
You did, thank you. I'll just close by saying I did track the blue ribbons going back to 2017, and only Cumberland has the distinction of having 3 of those since 2017. So, great job. All right.
In Rhode Island.
Rhode Island?
Rhode Island, sorry. Rhode Island.
I'd just like to add some comments, and maybe others on the school committee would like to as well. This is my 8th and final year on the school committee, and one of the things that I understood early on when I got on the achievement subcommittee under Mr. Damana's lead is that we are laser focused on achievement, and we're laser focused on great outcomes across the whole district. And this stuff doesn't happen by accident. It starts with a good, solid system, and then great leaders who help implement that system, and teachers and students and families who embrace that and can move us forward. It also starts with support from the town. It starts with collaboration with the mayor, and open and transparent collaboration with the town council, working through difficult budgets that we still know we are not well funded, but we are doing the best that we can with what we can because we are laser focused on this, and we really have made additions from an achievement perspective, putting interventionists where they're needed, putting MLL teachers where they're needed, and making sure that our schools all across the town get what they need based on their student population. The collaboration with the town cannot be underestimated how important that is as we go through our budget season. And I think with Mayor Mutter and his experience previously as chair of the school committee, that has helped us tremendously. But there's no magic tree with money growing on it. But we're putting a system in place to help do it all. And I'm just looking back at my notes. So I've been here for 8 years, but I'm looking back, Mr. Damana, from 2019 when we actually were talking about RICAS results and the increase we saw. And these were some of your words back then that our trajectory is unrivaled. No, this is before COVID. We had a landmark achievement then, but we are hyper-focused on outcomes. And even with COVID, during COVID, after COVID, being hyper-focused on outcomes helps us to get to an achievement like this. This doesn't happen overnight. It's not just because one year, Principal Carter, sorry, Principal Garvin, decided, hey, we all got to rally around this, and we've got to make this happen. It's not 1 year where the teachers all supported it and said, we got to make it happen. It's not 1 year. It's multiple years of doing it every single day in and day out, in believing that there's something at the end of the rainbow. So 3 blue ribbon schools since 2017. Also, Dr. Thornton, your leadership, it starts at the top and it comes down, and you and Mr. Damana, but talking about the budget and setting the stage and setting the strategic plan helps to make this happen too and throughout. So this, we should talk about this for all night, and over and over and over again. 0.0003%, I don't even know how to say that mathematically. Does anyone?
That's 3
Oh, thank you, you made it, you're so easy.
10,000ths of a percent.
3/10,000ths of a percent. Imagine, would you ever buy a lottery ticket? There's 3/10, well, maybe people do. Maybe that's a bad example. Never mind, I take that back. So anyways, this is tremendous achievement. I am leaving for vacation tomorrow, going to Germany to see my son, who's working in Berlin, and so I can't be there on Monday. And I'm, really, really disappointed in that. But know that I'm there in spirit, and I'm cheering everybody on, and just enjoy every single moment of that day and the days to follow in November in DC, and just well-deserved all across the board. I couldn't be prouder. And while I might not be on the school committee next, I know that there will be more blue ribbons in our future, because we are designed for this. So I just wanted to add that. Ms. Smith?
I'm not sure I can say anything better than you did, Mrs. Freeman, but District 3, Garvin School is my district. It is my home. It's where I grew up. It's where I started my school. I'm so, so proud of you and your team, Mrs. Carter, for everything that you've done for these students. We've had the Teacher of the Year this year coming from your school. We've had the blue ribbon coming in from your school. That starts with you as well, and I want to say thank you very much to you and to all of your team. We can see the enthusiastic children when they've come in here. If we've gone into the school, we've seen it. I unfortunately cannot be there on Monday as well. I have a problem. I can't drive for 6 to 8 weeks, so I can't just sneak out of work. But I really honestly wish I could be there to say thank you to each and every one of your team members. And we have to remember, if you look up online and go read some of the things it takes and what the government asks in order to be considered for a National Blue Ribbon School, this isn't a small feat. This is substantial, and it comes year on year. It's not just a one-time. It's all the hard work. And I think what really sets this one apart, you did that with your final scores when you weren't even in your school. You were here in the transitional building. Your entire team, all of those students were displaced, yet they still persevered and they achieved to levels like this to get 3/10,000ths of, a percent of a chance to get an award. So thank you all.
Mrs. Radowski?
It's hard to follow them, but yes, and I just also want to echo that it has been very hard to keep the secret. We've known since February, which if people doing the math, that is during redistricting, we knew when some of the less than savory comments were made by people about Garvin. It was very hard to sit up here and hear it and not be able to shout from the rooftops, we know something you don't know. And so instead, all we could stress was how great our elementary schools are. And I think we couldn't say it then, but we're telling the truth. We're not trying to sell anybody anything. Like the work that has been done here in the district has been incredible. What Garvin has achieved, what Ashton has achieved, what community has achieved with the blue ribbons specifically are amazing. And Mr. Damana, Mr. Thornton, or Dr. Thornton, the work has been from the top down, as the chairwoman said. I'm really good at this. But I am so excited for you, and it has been a very hard secret to keep, and I am very excited that everyone knows now and that we can tell everyone, and you all should be so incredibly proud. I will be there Monday, so I'm very excited to celebrate with all of you.
Thank you. Mrs. Vogel?
Basically echoing what everyone else said, a huge congratulations. You all should be very proud of yourselves, and I cannot thank you enough for your dedication and hard work to making Cumberland schools even better. I said this yesterday, I've said this many times. My daughter always raves about the Cumberland schools, and it's because of all of you. So thank you.
And seriously, I can't follow any of that. So all I'm going to say is keeping the secret was awful. And there were times where I had to literally text people on this committee because this committee knew, and that was it. And I was like, can I tell anyone yet? Can I tell anyone yet? And they were like, no. So congratulations. I'm sure if it was that difficult for me, I can't even imagine what it was like for you. It must have been like winning Survivor and not being able to tell anybody. So congratulations. Well done.
Thank you. I guess we have to move on.
All right, we can move on. And construction. This is our fourth go-round. It's kind of like we just finished a project and we look at the finished result, it's fantastic. And then I walk into a demoed building, a community, and we're like, oh, here we go again. But it's all good. First, on Ashton, before I go any further, we're looking to do a ribbon cutting, probably get a date out in the next couple days, probably early to mid-October for the ribbon cutting, waiting for the plaque to come in, hopefully, and a couple fine-tuning points on that one, so look for that date. This is community school. We're currently in demo mode and roof replacement. So over here on the left, the roof and the siding's being replaced. I'll go back, go back. Here, just the roofer's working over here. This is just some of the inside. We're demoing a lot of the old doors. And go ahead, Mike, next slide. Here, you'll see green X's all throughout the building. That's being demoed. This floor is going. Here, the roof is gutted. This is the old cave. No, this is the wing going towards the library. Here we have another wing where we're going to open the ceiling there. Bathroom's being demoed as I was there on Wednesday. This is the gym, warehousing all of our items that we have to kind of find a home for. That's all happening as we speak. Once again, the green line, that's all being demoed. There's a classroom right now. Here's where you start with. The very old kind of retro cubby area, the blackboards that still exist, right? And just really aged area. It's all being torn up. Here, downstairs in what was the community cafeteria a couple of years ago. Remember that cafeteria in the basement? That's all going to be demoed. That wall comes out. All that gets opened up. So a lot of demolition. This is our biggest footprint, our biggest elementary, so it's the biggest job to do. But this is our fourth time. So I am optimistic once again. We will do it, but it is a challenge. Also with this, we are working on other small jobs you all approved. You approved the high school roof project that's being done in stages. You approved the roof to be fixed in the wellness area. We're working on the entryway for North Cumberland Middle School for next summer, putting in an elevator, not a lift, in a new entryway. What else are we working on, Tim? Science labs at the middle school, Madam Chair. Those are being worked on. So all that is happening. That's all of them. So several things going on. So as always, happy to answer any questions. The demo will really pick up pace once we get approvals from RIDE. RIDE's been a little slow turning around paperwork, so we can't do full-on demo knocking down walls until RIDE signs off. It's kind of like demo light right now. And then we go full demo once RIDE signs for us. So, thank you.
Ms. Smith?
Dr. Thornton, could you talk a little bit about what type of work the police were doing down there this week with some of their testing?
Sure. Kind of like with Garvin a couple of years ago, we're always looking to, give training and work with folks on school safety. A couple of years ago in Garvin, we actually did active shooter training using Garvin's hallway. That was a 2-day event. This time, we had the state police and local police work on just tactics using the 5th grade wing, and they came in groups. One group would train in their classrooms, and they come over for a half-day training. They did it Wednesday and Thursday, I believe. So it was just a nice training opportunity, just classroom entry, tactics, all the type of things. That was done in a nice controlled area in the 5th grade wing off to the side. So they also had a chance to break 2 doors that were going to be demoed, so we let them break 2 doors. So that was part of the process.
Okay,
Thank you.
Dr. Thornton. Next on the agenda is report of standing committees, fiscal management subcommittee update. In Mr. Collins' absence, Ms. Smith will take this.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yes, the fiscal subcommittee did meet this evening. We do have some resolutions to discuss. We also were given updates. Chartwells was in to visit with us and give us an update on the first month of school and what they're seeing on their side with their rollout of all their programs and their food. And they have seen an uptick for lunches of 300 additional lunches per day since last year at the same time. They've seen about a loss of about 12 breakfasts per day, but that has a lot to do with new guidelines on grains and things that cannot be offered. So some of the students, like I think we're looking still for Pop-Tarts, maybe they can't get them anymore, but they are looking at other solutions and other a la carte things to roll out for those students to hopefully bring them back into the nutritious side of having that breakfast. So the numbers are really quite substantial. The a la carte, even at the high school, their projections on what they had there, what was it, like 7 to 10% above what their projections were just in the very first month. And typically, the first month is where everybody gets a new lunchbox and wants to take it to school from home, and then it settles down and all the parents are sending money instead. So we expect that this is really going to continue to go high, and I think it was very good to get that update from Chartwell. And a lot of the feedback that we've received so far is great improvement on the food. The students are liking it a lot better, and there's a lot more engagement. So we'll see how that continues to go. Thank you.
Next is Policy and Procedures Subcommittee update, and on behalf of Mr. Fiorello, we have Mrs. Feather.
Hello. We were not able to meet this week, but we do have 2 policies that we'll be talking about a little bit later.
Great, thank you. Next, Achievement and Communications Subcommittee update. We did meet this week. One of the items we actually spoke about was the impact of exams on seniors at the high school as it relates to end of year, graduation date, and we'll be talking a little bit more about that when we talk about the district handbooks. We also spoke about, Mr. Demana and his team shared the teacher mentoring program that is being put in place so that every first or second year teacher can get access to a veteran teacher who can mentor them in their first couple of years, or others could request a mentor as well. So this is a really exciting new program to help new teachers adapt to the system in Cumberland and to get, kind of one-on-one coaching from an experienced teacher. So that is a really, really great addition. And Mr. Demana shared there's a lot of curricula being updated across the district, which is a heavy toll on Mr. Demana's team, on teachers and administration and students. So there's a lot of work being in there to just ensure that our curriculum is high quality and making the impact that we need it to. So there's a lot of great work going on there. Next, we have the District Health and Wellness Subcommittee update, but I don't think we met this week. Yep, they are meeting on October 10th. All right, next item on the agenda, policy hearing. It's a reading of the amended policy, J2 attendance. Actually, we're just reading into the record.
We'll just ask that it be read into the record.
Yep.
Thank you.
If there's any public comments related to this specific policy, you could come up to the podium. Seeing none, we will move to our next agenda item, which is old business, item A, discussion or a vote to approve tabled resolutions. I'll hand this over to you, Ms. Smith.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yes, the Fiscal and Subcommittee had met previously twice now, and we had talked about 2 of these resolutions, numbers 142, 143, and we didn't have the proper backup to support that. We did receive that, and there was a lot of work put into it for over a month's period of time to go through, I think, with a fine-tooth comb, as they say, to ensure that they were all correct. So that information has been relayed, and all the documentation was provided. So that, along with the third one, number 151, where we got the update on the invoicing and how it was managed for the reconditioning of the football equipment, we did pass all 3 of these 3-0. And before I ask to move passage of them, I do like to say, and I did bring this up to Dr. Thornton, and I want to reiterate this. The 2 invoices that we received from Toronto Architect a lot of the problem was because these were from 2022 and 2023. And so there was a lot of work that had to go into going back and looking at it, and I have asked Dr. Thornton to make sure that the team works with the Toronto team to get anything else caught up, and that we don't see this happen again in the future. It does really take a toll. Our finances were closed for those 2 years. We're getting things late, and we just cannot see that go forward. So I think that Dr. Thornton will have that conversation. Okay? So I'd like to move passage and approve resolutions SCPR 08-2024-142, 143, and SCPR 09-2024-151.
Ms. Smith makes a motion to approve passage of these 3 resolutions. Do we have a second? Second by Mrs. Rogalski. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? That passes 5-0. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is item B, discussion and or vote to approve district handbooks, which is something that we do each year. But I would like to ask Mr. Costa to come up to talk about some changes to the high school handbook.
Thank you. So this all began last year at a school committee meeting where we were talking about graduation date, and it was the idea was floated about why seniors take exams and do seniors necessarily need to take exams. So over the course of the year, we've had many conversations. I've had conversations with Mr. Damana, Dr. Thornton, with our content leaders at the high school, and we've done a little bit of research about senior exams. And the truth is, I actually think it would be beneficial to our students that if they were not taking final exams. So there's language in the handbook that speaks to students only being exempt by meeting certain criteria. But what we're proposing this year and moving forward is that all seniors are exempt from exams. And some of the things that we learned in our research is that a final exam, especially for a senior, is not really a true measure of their ability or their understanding, because we used to call it senioritis, but apathy has certainly set in. College acceptances have been made, deposits have been made, and last year, because of our exams and the tardiness of graduation, some students had to actually miss their college orientation days because of how late our exams were. The other thing is our current grading practices in the Cumberland School Department are ones that we are constantly going back and revisiting content, revisiting skills that students are learning in classes. So while in a final exam we might measure old content, the skills that are being measured in that final exam have already been measured and measured and measured. So we're not really measuring anything new with the final exam. And then the last thing I want to mention is when we do early final exams before the end of the year, and then when we talk about the end of a quarter, teachers feel very much compelled to squeeze in this final assessment before that final exam, not leaving much time for there to be a really good, robust review of what students need to know for an exam, where 9th through 11th graders have that time built in for them. So seniors, under the pressure of graduation, starting college, ending high school, are also fending for themselves when they're preparing for these final exams. So I do think it has a negative impact on their mental health. And for me, I just think that this is a plus all around by removing the language from the handbook and providing them this exemption from exams, final exams.
Mrs. Vogel?
I just want to say thank you for this. I think I actually asked the question just innocently last year, but I think this is great for the seniors, so I truly appreciate the Achievement Committee looking at this and researching it and doing all the back work. I know Mrs. Rizgalski and I feel very similar on this, so I do appreciate everyone's hard work going into this. Thank you.
Yes, it was your question last year that really resulted in us kind of going down this road. But I do think in the end, I think it's a good move for all of us, especially for our students.
Oh, I just want to ask the million-dollar question, which is if we approve these handbooks and we remove exams for seniors, what impact does that have on graduation date?
If approved tonight, tomorrow would be announcing that graduation would be moved from June 18th to June 11th, so we could move it a full week forward, well before the end of the school.
Any other comments before we move with our vote? Okay, all right. Okay, so, pleasure of the committee.
Motion to approve. the
Motion to
handbook.
approve by Mrs. Feather. Second by Mrs. Rogalski. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? That passes 5-0. We approve the district handbooks, and graduation will be June 11th.
Yay.
Mark your calendars. Awesome. Thank you so much for that, Mr. Costa. Next item on the agenda is comments from the public. Are there any comments from the public? Okay. Seeing none, we will move into new business. Item A, discussion and a vote to approve the 2024-2025 bus routes. Motion to approve by Mrs. Rogalski. Second for discussion? Second for discussion by Ms. Smith. How'd I guess?
So sorry about that. I was actually going to ask to table it. While I don't have a problem with the bus routes that are out there, I know there has been some questions on a couple of things, and I just wanted to spend a little bit more time, and spending so much time on the handbooks as well. It's been a lot in 2 weeks' time, and I don't know if we are permitted to table that or not.
Certainly can. It's 45 days per your policy, so we're still within that range.
So I'll leave that to the pleasure of the rest of the committee, though.
Let me think. We have a motion right now to approve, and it's been seconded. Can Mrs. Rogalski with? No.
Not after a
Yeah.
second.
Well, she made a motion to approve. We have a second. We could take a vote, and if that doesn't pass, then we could make a new motion. Yeah? Okay, so we have a motion to approve and a second. All in favor? Opposed? Nay?
Nay.
The motion does not pass. Okay, so we don't need to table it. We just did not pass the motion. Okay,
Thank you.
great, thank you.
Tell Durham everything's cool.
Thank you, Mr. Adams. We'll get that at the next meeting.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Smith. Next item, discussion and a vote to approve homeschool instruction request for the 2024-2025 school year.
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve by Mrs. Feather. Second by Mr. Rogalski. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? That passes 5-0. Next item on the agenda is discussion and a vote on amended policy J2 attendance. Mrs. Feather.
Yes, so J2 attendance just had a couple of minor changes made. Specifically, I would like to say that there were a couple of ands added, and also there were some Oxford commas added, which I very much appreciate, being a huge fan of the Oxford comma.
I can't vote for this.
So, that being said, again, just minor changes, so I would move passage.
All right. Mrs. Feather makes a motion to approve amended policy J2 attendance. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Smith. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? That passes 5-0. Thank you, Mrs. Feather. Next, discussion and a vote to approve resolutions. Ms. Smith.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We had 9 resolutions that we discussed tonight in the fiscal subcommittee, SCPR 09-2024-156 through 164, and all of them were passed 2-0. We had 2 people in the meeting this evening, and I would move passage of all.
Ms. Smith makes a motion to approve resolutions SCPR 09-2024-156 through 164. Do we have a second? Second by Mrs. Vogel. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? That passes 5-0. Next, item E, discussion and a vote to approve payment of bills. Ms. Smith.
There were no payment of the bills this evening.
Okay, thank you. And next item on the agenda is school committee comments, school liaison reports. Any comments from the school committee? Mrs. Feather.
Graduation's June 11th.
Any other comments? All right, next item, let's see, executive session discussion.
All set.
Next item is adjournment. I need a motion to adjourn. Motion to adjourn. Motion by Mrs. Rogalski. Second by Mrs. Vogel. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? That passes 5-0. We are adjourned at 7:40 PM. Thank you, everyone.